and members of the public, and welcome to this meeting. Please would you all remain standing, if you are able, while my chaplain says prayers.
A reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Philippians. May the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, keep your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Whatever things are true, whatever modest, whatever just, whatever holy, whatever lovely, whatever of good repute, if there be any virtue, if anything praiseworthy, think on these things. Let us pray. Holy Spirit, fill our hearts with your charity and our minds with your wisdom as we meet this evening. Fill us with sufficient grace to be honest and fair in our deliberations, but keep us from all useless argument. Let us speak solely from motives of love and charity, having at all times the interest of this city at our heart. And we ask your blessing upon this meeting and your inspiration for all that we will say and enact. In all things, may we reflect your generosity. This we pray in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. I'd like to remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded and streamed live on our website. Please can members also remember to speak directly into their microphones and to switch them on before speaking. I've also been asked at meetings to make a standard evacuation announcement. Please note, in the case of an emergency, a bell will ring continuously. If this occurs, please leave the council chamber at once, taking your personal belongings with you. Follow the green fire exit signs to leave the Civic Centre onto Duke Street via the stairs, which are located near the end of the corridor adjoining this chamber. Lifts should not be used. Please gather by the War Memorial immediately outside the Civic Centre, and if and when it is safe to return to the building, an announcement will be made. You should not return to the building until told it's safe to do so. Anyone attending this meeting is entitled to film it, but only the councillors, officers, and anyone sitting around these tables may be filmed. Members of the public should not be filmed, so please ensure cameras are pointed only in this direction. Please silence or switch off your mobile phones while the meeting is taking place. I'd like to remind members that there are 3 styles of voting tonight. There's a show of hands, voting by assent, or a recorded vote, which would have to be requested by 10 members. I'd also like to remind members that those moving an item of business have 10 minutes and a right of reply for 5 minutes. Those seconding items have 5 minutes and can reserve their right to speak before the mover of the motion has the final say. All other councillors can only speak once for 5 minutes per item. This must be before I invite the seconder or mover to speak at the end. Agenda item 1 is apologies for absence. I've received apologies from Councillors Armstrong, Bugby, Canning, Highland, Raven, Forpaps and Tron. Are there any other items? Anybody else? No?
Madam Mayor, Councillor Ashley John.
Sorry?
Councillor Ashley John.
Right, thank you. That's added to the list of apologies. As members will be aware, we have sadly lost one former member City Council since the last meeting. Tony Sage passed away last month. having served as a councillor for the Conservatives in the Writtle ward between 1999 to 2019. Tony served on the Planning Committee and was the Cabinet Member for Corporate Services before becoming Mayor in 2009 until 2010. Tony will be missed by all of us, and our thoughts continue to be with their family and friends. Please, if you're able, stand to join me in a minute's silence in his memory. Thank you. I'd now like to invite Councillor Robinson and Councillor Whitehead to speak, starting with Councillor Robinson. So it says here.
All right, thank you. So I knew Tony when I lived in Writtle, and he and I both served on Writtle Parish Council for a number of years. And one thing I particularly remember was, well, first of all, his personality. He was always very jolly and happy and enthusiastic about serving his residents of the village. But on the council, I particularly remember working with him and the then Borough Council when, in those days, we still had the Highways Agency, and we worked cross-party to get the cycle path from the west side of Chelmsford through to the village of Writtle, through behind the old Chelmsfordians, and I know he was pleased to see that. He was also mayor, of course, and when he was mayor, he supported the charity Kids Inspire, which is the charity that I know very well. And I got to know it very well, and it was really great to see him. And that's become that was a really helpful sort of launch pad for that charity in its early days, because then it was quite new, only a year or two old, and having the sort of seal of approval from the mayor for that year made a real difference to a charity which has now gone on from nothing to be a turnover of a charity well over £1 million serving children across Essex. So that was a really early welcome thing from Tony to endorse that charity. And I know I used to bump into him around the village sometimes, and he was always interested to talk about issues that were going on in the village and, of course, the wider district. And so he was a fine public servant on the parish and borough councils, and I'm sure we send our condolences to his family. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Whitehead.
There's probably not a lot extra I can add to that. You've been very fulsome on that. He was married to Lorraine, of course, with a daughter and a son, and had 2 granddaughters, I think, and so we send them our condolences. He went where else but to King Edward's Grammar School, and of course became a management governor of that later on. And I think he was a school governor at Lawford Meads as well. So that, as Councillor Robinson was saying, yes, he was interested in young people. I know after he was elected, he said, I want to shine a spotlight on many of our borough's unsung heroes. I am keen to promote and support our Chelmsford charities, especially those that help young people. So that we've lost him and Tim Roper as well recently as well, the 2 Writtle councillors who were there for a very long time. It is very sad, but nonetheless, we wish his family well, and thank you for making that this evening.
Thank you. Right, I'll just have a small report about the mayoralty itself. Since our start, the last 9 weeks have been busy for us, attending over 70 engagements and meetings. The engagements have been varied: concerts, services, plays, presentation of awards and celebrating many wonderful volunteers within our community. I've had the privilege of visiting our twin town in Backnang for Stratton Fest, coincide with the 35th anniversary of Chelmsford being twinned with Backnang. Our first charity fundraising event, raising funds for Chelmsford CVS, will take place on Sunday, 27th of July, which I hope to see some of you attend. Other events are being organised for September, and details of these will be published shortly. I'll now move on to declarations of interest. Members will be aware of the need to declare any interest they have in the business at this meeting, either now or when we come to the item. Does anyone wish to declare an interest at this point? No? Okay, I'll move on. The next question is the minutes of the meetings, two meetings, 19th of February and the 14th of May. They have been distributed. Are you happy to accept them as a correct record? Okay, thank you. In that case, the minutes are approved. Do I need to sign them now? Yes? Thank you. Thank you. Agenda item 5 is public questions. Any member of the public may ask a question on which the council has powers or duties or which affects the city. Questions must not exceed 2 minutes, and the total period allowed for the question time under the council's rules of procedure is 30 minutes. There's not an opportunity for supplementary questions. We have received 4 public questions for tonight's meeting. Now, is the first member of the public here tonight, or has that changed?
Do you want to say which one it is, which question it is?
This is a question from Mr. S. No, sorry, there was a change to, bear with me, there was a change to the number of questions of people who are here.
Yeah, they're not here, that one's not here.
That one's not here. Sorry, Councillor Moore will respond. My apologies, it's just that things have changed in the last half hour. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, members and members of the public. Yes, this question came in for me as Cabinet Member for a Greener Chelmsford. It comes from Mr. S. Would you like me to read the question, Madam Mayor, to provide some context? It's
yes,
brief.
Please do.
Mr. S asks this question in his capacity as Church Warden of All Saints Church, Springfield. He says, we have just been awarded a Gold Eco Church Award, and we are keenly involved with the stewardship of God's creation. On the 6th anniversary of the Council declaring a climate and ecological emergency, what action has the Council taken on behalf of the people of Chelmsford in the key areas of activity towards achieving the action plan targets? Well, I can reassure you, Mr. S, and I hope all members, that a comprehensive review of this Council's response to the climate and ecological emergency and the Council's approach to meeting its biodiversity duties under the Environment Act 2021 was considered by the Council's Overview and Scrutiny Committee on the 10th of March this year. This is the 3rd time that progress has been reviewed since the original action plan was agreed back in January 2020. Previous reviews were on the 1st of February 2021 and again on the 26th of September 2022. And progress was highlighted across the 4 key themes and priority action areas. These are securing sustainable housing and economic growth and promoting net zero carbon development, lowering our energy consumption and reducing greenhouse gas emissions, protecting and expanding natural habitats to meet the Council's biodiversity duty, and to encourage people, communities and businesses to get involved too in caring for our local environment and adopting more sustainable ways of living and working. The report to Overview and Scrutiny Committee also provided an update on the progress made to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from the Council's own activities and operations, showing that significant steps have been taken and indeed made towards the ambition for these operations to be net zero carbon by 2030. The latest greenhouse gas emissions report for 2024 to 25 is due to be published shortly and will be available on our website. A summary of all actions taken to date and plans for future years can be seen by referring to the report to Overview and Scrutiny Committee that I have mentioned, which is published on the City Council's website, and we will embed a link in their minutes to this meeting so that members of the public can access that. This, I hope, demonstrates the progress that we have made as a council towards mitigating and adapting to the impacts of climate change and reversing the decline in nature and increasing biodiversity. The overall approach and many of the opportunities for people, organisations and businesses to get involved are also set out on the Love Your Chelmsford website. We can all play a part in addressing the climate and nature emergencies, and through this action plan to 2030, the Council shares residents' aspirations and determination to support all inhabitants of our precious planet. And Madam Mayor, it gives me great pleasure on the 6th anniversary of Chelmsford City Council unanimously supporting the motion to declare the emergency, and I welcome the opportunity to share a summary this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. We've received a question from Mr. S, who was unable to attend today. I now ask Councillor Ely to respond.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to thank Mr. Schofield for his question. I've been informed by officers that some of the details are quite should remain private, so I won't read the question out if that's okay. In the first instance, and for clarity, as clearly set out in the report to Cabinet on the 3rd of June 2025, the priority of the Public Health and Protection Services team is to deliver the Council's statutory duties to improve housing conditions, investigate complaints from residents living in potentially hazardous conditions and take action to remedy them, and carry out the Council's licensing responsibilities for houses in multiple occupation and caravan sites, amongst others. Work and attempts to bring empty homes back into use, although desirable, is a secondary concern, and hence the prioritisation of resources and the adjustment of the approach to bringing empty homes back into use, as set out in the Cabinet report. This is particularly relevant at this point in time when the Council was confronted with significant additional obligations in relation to fire safety and protection of residents in mid and high-rise buildings following the Grenfell Tower disaster, and the extensive new duties imposed by the Renters' Rights Act in relation to private rented property. These statutory obligations will always need to take precedence over work that, whilst the Council may have powers to act, it is discretionary as to whether the Council is able to exercise them. The amended approach to attempting to bring empty homes back into use also reflects the most recent LGA guidance, which clearly indicates that the most successful approach is not to target homes that have been empty the longest, but those that have most recently triggered the payment of council tax premium, as described in the report. Of course, whilst we are not able to enter into discussion or debate about the particular situation or circumstances of an individual property owner in this public arena, it is quite clear that Council is unlikely to be able to identify convincing grounds for the exercise of compulsory purchase powers. That such an order is highly likely to be challenged and it would be very difficult to justify the cost of applying for a CPO or the liabilities that this would entail, given the priorities outlined earlier. This assessment is based on the findings of an independent inspection, valuation and market condition report undertaken in 2024. Cuts in funding from central government to local councils over the last 15 years mean that it's very difficult to fund non-statutory service from the council's core income. So there is no real prospect of the council being in a position to accede to Mr Schofield's request. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from Mrs E, who I believe has joined us this evening. So please come forward and read your question. I haven't got the full name.
She doesn't read the question. It's Councillor Moore's just going to respond.
You'll have a look. It's fine if you don't want to read it.
That's okay,
Sorry,
I'm here now.
It's up to you.
Worst bit's over. On the weekend of the 27th to the 29th of June, a number of caravans and trailers descended on a bit of greenbelt land directly opposite my house, a couple of metres from my gate. About 4 of these caravans looked directly into my windows. The temporary stop order has been completely ignored. More caravans have arrived. Sewerage and groundworks have been ongoing, and they appear to have access to electricity and water now, and a family moved in yesterday in the bottom caravan. What is going to be done to remove the unlawfully placed caravans and restore the land to Greenbelt? They do not have planning permission, and they've never even asked for it.
Thank you. Councillor Moore. Thank you for reading that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I second that. Thank you very much for taking the time to come and to read your question out this evening. So the Council had served a temporary stop notice on the 1st of July 2025, but this is not able to prohibit all work. It only prohibits further hard standing and the importation or occupation of any further caravans. At the time of writing this question, and this was prepared earlier today, so forgive me if situations have changed, and we will make sure that officers feedback on the latest. It cannot prevent works to connect services or the erection of fencing, and officers are aware that a couple of additional caravans have been brought onto the land in breach of the temporary stop notice. The occupiers of the site have been reminded of the terms of the temporary stop notice and warned that any further breaches may result in further enforcement action being taken. Planning contravention notices have been served, which will ensure that officers have all the relevant facts before taking further enforcement action. And further action is being considered, which I am not able to discuss in detail at this stage, as it could compromise the effectiveness of such action. But I would like to reassure residents all enforcement options are being considered. The planning enforcement team does not have the legal powers to evict those residing on their own land or who are residing on land with the landowner's permission. Whilst there is a breach of planning control, this is dealt with through the planning enforcement notice regime. It is an offence to fail to comply with an enforcement notice, and those who commit an offence can be prosecuted. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We have the final question from Mrs H. I'll now ask... Oh, you're happy to read your question, so thank you.
I have a feeling I may be referred to the answer just given. Madam Mayor, members of the Council, I speak on behalf of the angry, broken residents of Rumwell, many of whom are here tonight, who are seriously impacted by the aggressive, illegal, unsafe development of the Greenbelt land on Meadow Lane. Our questions address both the general planning enforcement issues on Meadow Lane as well as the specific breaches at the paddocks, question 1. lack of direct enforcement action and injunction powers. Can the council explain why enforcement notices served on the paddock site in Meadow Lane, 1, have not been properly acted upon by the council, whilst the owner-occupier has further breached all planning controls and established a caravan site rental business with tenants already in situ? 2, why are a temporary stop notice and planning contravention notice considered proportionate given the scale and nature of the breaches? 3, why has the council not applied to the High Court for an injunction as outlined in its own enforcement management plan? 4, what are the specific barriers to enforcement? Question 2, collaboration with other agencies. Can the council advise which agencies it has been collaborating with in respect of the planning control breaches on Meadow Lane, which have a direct impact on these agencies and their respective areas of oversight and responsibilities? For example, the Environment Agency, Essex County Council, UK Power Networks, Anglian Water, the Parish Council, local police, local schools, etc. In conclusion, due to the limited time available and because of the seriousness of the current situation, we respectfully request written responses to our full list of questions and clarification of the actions being taken to protect the Runwell community. We request that Chelmsford City Council addresses these matters with transparency, urgency and public accountability. Does the Council agree to answer in writing all the questions submitted in our document? I'd just like to add that we've had very little transparency, urgency or public accountability so far.
Thank you very much. I think that covers those 2 minutes. Councillor Moore has more.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thanks once again for coming this evening and posing your questions. I will address a number of these, but as you've said, there's more detail. I promise we will send you a written response. It's prepared and it's ready to come back to residents. Thank you. So you question the lack of direct enforcement action and injunction powers. It is considered, as I've stated I think in the previous question, that the Council has acted properly. The Council served a temporary stop notice on the 1st of July, and that is specific to certain activities, but it is not able to prohibit all work. It only prohibits further hard-standing and importation or occupation of any further caravans, and it cannot prevent works to connect to services or the erection of fencing. Because a temporary stop notice is prohibitory, it's not possible to require positive actions to be taken in response to it, so removal of development, as an example. The temporary stop notice cannot prohibit all activities. Felling of trees, which, as in this case, are not protected by a tree preservation order, does not amount to a breach of planning control, and therefore cannot be prohibited by the temporary stop notice. We are aware that the temporary stop notice appears to have been breached as a result of the importation of further caravans. Officers are actively assessing this through site visits and are considering the most appropriate next steps. This assessment will consider all legal options available to this council. Occupiers of the pitches have all been spoken with and have stated that they are the owners of the land and that they are residing on. Therefore, there is no rental business being conducted or tenants on site.
Just listen, please. It's important you hear the answers.
I'm delivering a response from officers. I'm sure they will follow up with you if you have further questions. This council powers are limited where the occupier is the landowner or has the landowner's permission. Madam Mayor, there is one more section of the question that I'd like to address, if I may.
Yes, please.
Thank you. So you ask why a temporary stop notice and planning contravention notice are considered proportionate given the scale and nature of the breaches. There are a range of different ways of tackling alleged breaches of planning control, and the government's advice is that local planning authorities should act in a proportionate way. Local planning authorities do have discretion to take enforcement action when they regard it as expedient, to do so, having regard to the development plan and any other material considerations, and this includes the Council's own development management enforcement plan. In the circumstances, travellers had moved onto the land where officers visited, and an injunction could therefore not prohibit complete occupation. The temporary stop notice was the most appropriate action as an initial step to halt any further importation of caravans and to maintain the status quo of the land. A planning contravention notice is an appropriate tool in establishing the facts prior to taking any further formal enforcement action. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. That is the end of that set of questions. If you have further information, obviously, there will be a full explanation coming out to you. So it's up to you now whether you would like to stay for the rest of the meeting or you wish to leave. It's entirely up to you, but more information will come through. Sorry, I can't hear that, so that doesn't help. We do have Paul Brooks here, who might be able to... No, I'm sorry.
Just like to say, status quo has not been maintained on that piece of land.
So if you don't mind, leave. But Paul Brooks is here. Maybe he can come out with you. And if you have any further information, that is the person you need to speak to. Okay? Thank you. Thank you. Agenda item 6 is Cabinet question time. At the time of the deadline of noon on Monday, 5 questions have been submitted for Cabinet members. There's a right of reply to ask a supplementary question or comment, which, if exercised, also applies to the Cabinet member. The first is from Councillor Papa, and I'll ask Councillor Goldman to respond to it. Councillor Papa, can you stand for your question? Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, fellow councillors and residents of Chelmsford. I rise today with a simple yet powerful proposal. Let's bring Chelmsford to life after 6 p.m. Every evening, as the clock strikes 6, our city centre, the heart of our community, starts to fall silent. The shutters come down, the shops close, and yet thousands of Chelmsford residents are just finishing work. This calls for a simple first step, a city-wide consultation, a pilot, and a report, because Chelmsford deserves to be more than a daytime city. Let's bring it to life after 6. Does the Cabinet member agree that this should be looked at and that is appropriate for the overview and scrutiny committee to put this on the next agenda? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Goldman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the question. The Council is absolutely right to highlight the importance of ensuring the city centre remains vibrant and welcoming after 6 p.m. And it's something this administration and the Business Improvement District, also known as the BID, has been doing for some time and with some great success. We fully recognise the value of supporting our evening and nighttime economy, and I'm pleased to say that a significant amount of work is already underway, and the BID, in close partnership with the City Council, commissioned leading consultants 6 till 6 last December. There's been some great responses to that consultation. I'm sorry that you didn't see it. But the plan, we got over 1,200 responses from the public. We've had an overnight audit, and we've had engagement with key stakeholders. So this consultation is ongoing, and there will be a report coming out. Its aim is to shine light on the challenges and opportunities in our city centre and to set up both short and long-term actions for improvement. The BID's vision is important, and I sit on the BID, and it's a very good group that's on there with local businesses and other councillors as well. But it wants to position Chelmsford as a leading destination for evening and nighttime activities with diverse mix of culture, entertainment and social experiences, all with a safe and inclusive environment. To help drive this forward, the BID has appointed a dedicated nighttime economy advisor who is having regular meetings with the various businesses in the city centre, attending conferences and workshops, and more importantly, learning from other areas to see how we can improve Chelmsford. The City Council is committed to continuing to support this strategy, championing events, helping venues to thrive, and making sure our public spaces feel safe and welcoming for everyone. Councillor Papa may also recall that this council has invested in our theatre, which is now offering some amazing shows and bringing many more people into the West End of Chelmsford in the evening, which in turn is supporting many local businesses and supporting the council with the money that it's making. To support the delivery of the Evening and Nighttime Economy Action Plan, a small working group made up of BID representatives and City Council officers meets regularly to coordinate efforts and address cross-cutting themes. This collaborative approach ensures the key actions are aligned, issues are responded to quickly, and opportunities for improvement are identified and acted upon. It's also worth noting Chelmsford's Purple Flag accreditation, which was renewed in February 2025 for the 12th consecutive year, specifically recognised that the diversity of Chelmsford venues ensures that the city has something for everyone within its nighttime economy, from shows at Chelmsford Theatre to restaurants offering global cuisines and pubs and bars serving everything from specialist cocktails to the perfect pint. Chelmsford's variety was seen as a major strength. Larger events such as the Sounds Good Festival and the Chelmsford For You Christmas Market were also cited as significantly enhancing the city's overall evening and nighttime offer. We truly believe Chelmsford's nighttime economy has enormous potential, and by working together with the BID, local businesses, cultural groups and our residents, we can contribute to continue to shape a city centre that really comes alive after dark. If Councillor Papa thinks that this should be considered by overview and scrutiny, this isn't something that I can do, but you should speak to Councillor Jeeps and maybe she could put it on the agenda next time. Thank you once again for raising this and for championing such an important part of our local economy and community life. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Papa, do you want to come back? No? Okay. You do or you don't? Sorry. You don't. Okay, fair enough. I can't quite see you. Thank you very much. Let's move on then to the question from Councillor Bonnet. And I'll ask Councillor Ely to respond to it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Residents in my ward are complaining that dog bins are not being collected regularly and that this hot weather is making matters worse. I understand that there is a serious shortage of street care staff. What is the Cabinet member doing to resolve this problem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And thank you, Councillor Bonnet, for your question. Dog waste bin collections continue to be made in accordance with the existing schedule. There are adequate resources available to achieve this, but there is no capacity to collect from additional bins. As Councillor Bonnet was advised on Friday the 11th of July, there have been some recent staff changes in the dog waste collection teams, and new staff are still familiarising themselves with the collection rounds. With regards to the 2 bins that the residents have raised concerns about, Councillor Bonnet was also advised by the street care manager on Friday that they have now been moved to another round to ensure consistency of service. However, if there are areas of particular concern, the need will be assessed and we are able to install additional bins next to existing ones. Additionally, general waste bins, i.e. those for non-recyclable materials, can be used for dog waste as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bonnet, anything else? Thank you.
Thank you. My concern, obviously, is with the school's holidays coming, and who would want their children or grandchildren playing in the vicinity of these unemptied bins. It isn't just the two that I'd mentioned to street care. There are others in other parts of my ward as well. And as an example, I know of 2 bins that weren't emptied for at least 7 weeks at a time. And I have been highlighting this issue to street care since March, hence why my residents are continually contacting me about this issue. I know there is an issue with the recruitment, and my question is, are you actively looking for further staff to add to the team?
Councillor Ely here.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. The service is being kept under constant review, but this is a budgetary matter, and Councillor Davidson will update Council in the usual way at the usual time. I've spoken to Councillor Davidson, and he welcomes dialogue with your leader, Councillor Whitehead, regarding the budget at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is Councillor Whitehead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It concerns you, really, as you're aware. Now, you did mention earlier on that you'd been to the Straßenfest in Backnang, and there were 4 mayors there from the other 3 towns that have twinned, really quadrupled, really, but never mind. But due to a recent decision by the City Council not to allow chains of office to be taken to Backnang, our mayor had no regalia at all. Now, I'm conscious that it's a question of how it goes through customs and things. There have been problems, I think, in the past about that. But we specifically bought a replica badge and mayor's chain to avoid sort of damage to that wonderful regalia that the mayor is wearing. And so I think it would be good if that could be looked at again, and I believe a mayor's working party has been convened shortly on which it would be useful to be on the agenda. But more importantly, the question is about this, really. The personal security of the mayor is worrying a number of us, because at the moment the mayor has to return the replica regalia to the Civic Centre, often late in the evening. And whilst that's fine on a night like now, on a rainy night in November and so on, it worries us. And of course the mayor's car is no longer available, although still in the garage as I understand it, and doesn't have therefore the chauffeur looking after the mayor. So is it possible, or it is possible, to get a replica of the replica, if you like, inexpensively, that can be taken home by the mayor? Because the real problem is it's kept, or has to be kept, in a safe. And so when the mayor was in Backnang this year, it could have gone in the hotel safe, but the previous mayor, who was staying in private accommodation, couldn't put it in the safe, and that's why we have a problem. But the actual replica is not expensive, and so that we would be happy to donate a sufficient sum of money to purchase a replica chain, so that our mayors can have a deserved symbol of office and ensure that their security is not compromised.
Thank you. Before I ask Councillor Robinson to reply, I will say how much I thoroughly enjoyed the trip to Backnang. My husband came with me, and we were well looked after. It was a bit like being royalty, and every mayor gets the same treatment, so it wasn't just me. I found that I was able to speak at the town hall. I spoke on behalf of Chelmsford, councillors, the mayors of Backnang and Anane and Bacsunas in Hungary also spoke. So that was really enjoyable. We exchanged gifts, which will come over with your son in the fullness of time. But it's a terrific event. It's very well run, and I made the decision not to take the chain. It was entirely my decision. Okay, and I'll now hand over to Councillor Whitehead.
Thank you very much. So yeah, I'm delighted that you and Councillor Socian were able to attend the Strassen Fest this year, and as you, it sounds like you had a wonderful time and always hosted very well by our friends in Backnang. And as you were saying in your last comment, as regards the regalia, it's very much a personal decision for each mayor to make. It's not a policy decision. And the Civic Services Manager will discuss that with the mayor in advance of any event, not just the Strassen Fest or visits overseas. Obviously, the insurance requirements, as I'm sure we're all aware, are significant, and the requirements for taking an item of value overseas is even more significant, and therefore officers discuss this with each mayor to allow them to make a decision for their trip that they feel comfortable with. So the council didn't prohibit the regalia from being taken, whether that was the replica or the formal chains. As Councillor Socian was saying, the mayor was saying, I don't think other mayors have always taken the chain, including last year either. So it wasn't intended at all as a statement and doesn't reflect any change in protocol. And we support each individual mayor's choice to make the decisions as how they represent the city with events, and different mayors take different approaches depending on what they feel comfortable with and the nature of the event.
Thank you. Do you wish to come back, Councillor Whitehead?
Sorry, you haven't answered the second part of the question about mayor returning regalia in the evenings.
Well, I think I partly have, because I said a lot of this is related to insurance and personal decisions, but I think this is a discussion for the mayor to have with the Civic Services Manager, and if there are other policy issues, then we can discuss those at the working group.
Thank you. Right, the last question is from Councillor Dan Clark.
He's got two more questions.
Ah, my
Very
apologies,
cheeky.
Councillor Whitehead. I would hate to stop you. Please carry on.
It rather follows on from the other one, Madam Mayor, and in fact follows on from what Councillor Robinson was just saying. This is indeed the 35th anniversary of the Town Twinning Partnership, and it was marked, as you so eloquently said, last month. Now, Backnang has hosted our mayors 6 times since the new mayor was elected in Backnang, and we have only hosted their mayor just once. So will the City Council invite the mayor of Backnang to come to Chelmsford in 2026? It's accepted that the financial situation is not as healthy as we'd like it to be, but nonetheless our cultural strategy encourages such exchanges, and the high school has unfortunately decided not to send pupils to Germany next year. So there's a danger of twinning declining at a time when working together in Europe has become more important. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson.
Yeah, well, thank you. As we've said, we've highlighted the significance of the partnership and the 35th anniversary, and I agree about the importance of having good relationships with our European neighbours. And it's a shame that the high school wasn't able to send pupils. I hope they'll be able to in future. It's long been my wish that the Chelmsford Twinning Association would be able to improve links between all of our schools in Chelmsford and schools in Backnang, and if we can assist with that, we'd be happy to. It's fair to say, yes, it would probably be appropriate to host the Mayor of Backnang next year to demonstrate our commitment to fostering our friendship and marking the many years of partnership. I welcomed him when he came here a year before last, and I went there, that was 3 years ago, and I went there 2 years ago. See, but as you said, councils generally do not have the budget that we once had, and indeed we don't have the budget that our friend in Backnang has. And they have much more independence than we do. And we have to be very careful with every pound that we spend. And I want to ensure that it's allocated to activities that is obviously for the benefit of Chelmsford residents. But I'm sure we can find a way to showcase our vibrant city, as Councillor Goldwyn was talking about earlier, and everything that it has to offer. And I suggest we discuss that at the mayoral working group as well.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you very much for that. We'll take that forward. It's, of course, there are unitary authorities in Backnang. That's the real secret.
Well, indeed.
Councillor Whitehead, does that cover all your questions or not? Or is there one more? Because they're running into one, it seems a little...
Now for something entirely different, as they say. The Local Government Act provides that where authorities operate executive arrangements, for instance, where there's a leader in cabinet or mayor in cabinet, and all functions are to be exercised by the executive unless specified otherwise in the Act or regulations made under it. These regulations define non-executive functions, and these include setting the budget and, importantly, the word strategic policy frameworks, which are reserved for full council rather than the executive. This separation ensures that decisions which significantly impact the community or require a high degree of scrutiny are handled transparently and with greater accountability. The regulations delineate that strategic and quasi-judicial decisions should be reserved for full council. This ensures that decisions which have significant consequences receive the necessary scrutiny and democratic legitimacy. Despite the executive day-to-day management rule, the overarching financial strategies and significant amendments to these strategies should be considered by full council and align with the broader governance framework and financial health of the council. The recent decisions on the use of a huge amount of seal monies for developments at South Woodham Ferrers and at Cabinet recently for £66.3 million of the Bewley sites, as detailed in the decisions published on the council's website, are clearly, to our view, strategic policy decisions, and the opinion of the Conservative group should have been taken at full council. Now, the council's constitution is being updated, as we're going to have tonight, but I'm not sure it was updated in time for that. But nonetheless, will the leader now agree that the decision to fund the viability gap and fund infrastructure should be brought to council? Does he further consider that ring-fencing money for property developers in these developments is not what seal should be used for, as other parts of the city will lose out? Now, I'm conscious, since I wrote this question, sorry, I'll just add a slight thing, that the A12 situation may have had a small effect, to say the least, on these matters, and so no doubt Councillor Robinson would explain that a bit further. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll firstly answer the question about the decision-making process and then about the specific use of SIL. So, as you say, the legal framework for these decisions is the Local Government Act 2000, which created the leader and cabinet model for executive functions, which includes decisions on infrastructure delivery and the allocation of SIL funds. So legally, these are not the responsibility of full council. That may not be your opinion. That may be your opinion, but it's your opinion may be different from the legal advice that we received. And I think I would obviously be doing the wrong thing if I didn't take the lawyer's advice rather than yours. Full council retains responsibility for setting the overarching budget and strategic policy framework, such as the budget and the local plan. The Cabinet is responsible for decisions relating to the implementation of those policies, including how specific funding streams like SIL are applied to deliver approved growth and infrastructure priorities. So Cabinet acted within its legal powers as the executive decision maker for this authority, and the decision was not one for full council. However, we are committed to transparency and effective governance in delivering our infrastructure and growth objectives, which moves me nicely on to actually using the SIL money. So yeah, it is frustrating that we had to do what we've done. Community infrastructure levy, as we know, is a charge paid by developers to help fund infrastructure across the district, and Section 106 agreements are used to require developers to fund infrastructure directly related to development sites, such as strategic scale open space, distributor roads, of which we built one and with another one to come, new schools, of which we built 3, with another 3 or 4 to come, early years and childcare nurseries. And these, of course, do actually benefit the wider population, not just those living within the new developments. So there is a bit of crossover between the two systems. And clearly, as we all know, the cost of that infrastructure is very significant. Unfortunately, as you well know, government policy set in 2012 by Eric Pickles, the Secretary of State, allows developers to protect their large profit margins. And if the cost of infrastructure is in danger of reducing their profits below 20%, they are allowed to reduce the amount of affordable housing within the development. And this is something the Liberal Democrats find unacceptable. We have a nationwide housing crisis that here in Chelmsford means 535 homeless households, which includes over 640 children being in temporary accommodation. My group thinks that's a scandal, and we will not stop from doing everything we possibly can to find them a decent home. Many more families lack suitable housing. Many others have to be relocated outside of the Chelmsford area, and we have a further 1,390 households living in unsuitable housing due to, for example, overcrowding. We will not stop our quest to deliver the 35% affordable housing that you never delivered in your 16 years. Our viability consultant advised us that we have little choice. We can have the SIL money and reduce the affordable housing, or we can put the SIL money back into infrastructure in the new development and get the affordable housing. I wish we didn't have to use SIL in this way, but government policy, your government's policy, leaves us no choice. We'd love to spend it in other parts of the district, but this is the least worst option to ensure we actually deliver affordable housing. I'm always keen to show residents that development benefits existing residents as well as new ones, so that's generally how we would prefer to use SIL. But until the government addresses how financial viability on strategic sites is dealt with, we must take all possible steps to protect affordable housing provision. Our Liberal Democrat MP, Marie Goldman, and I are both raising this issue nationally, and I'm hoping that this government will listen. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you wish to come back?
Thank you. I mean, I won't go through the arguments about how many houses are built and so on. We did that recently, and that isn't our intention. I think it's fair to say that there was a third option, as it were, is to go down to 25%, so everybody is satisfied. But again, that wasn't the point that I was trying to raise, really. I think it's fair to say that we are all in this great difficulty at the moment on looking after affordable housing, and there were a lot less affordable houses needed when we were in charge. Now, you're quite right, it has increased. And it's very sad that it's doing so, really. But there is a sort of follow-up question. There is a legal case still outstanding, as I understand it, about the use of the money in this way. Do we know when that is to be resolved, and will it make a difference if it is?
I'm going to ask Ms Brown to answer that.
Yes.
The simple answer is no. I wouldn't know when that case is going to be decided. It would be in the hands of the court. So I can't give you a time frame on that, I'm afraid.
Sorry, because we were told that it was important to have it for the planning meeting. The planning meeting has now been cancelled, and therefore, is that the reason it was cancelled? If not, why was it cancelled?
The reason the planning committee was cancelled was because we were unable to bring that to committee because there are a couple of outstanding matters, and then relating to the viability assessment, because we got the numbers back very late on with a revision to the viability assessment. And then, yes, the A12 decision has not helped that situation at all. And that is obviously deeply disappointing to the council. I've already written to two different ministers in conjunction with the leaders of Braintree and Colchester and our respective members of Parliament, and we will be following that up urgently.
Thank you. Right, our final question is Councillor Dan Clark.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In the judgment delivered on the 16th of April 2025, the UK Supreme Court ruled that the protected characteristic of sex in the Equality Act 2010 refers to biological sex, not acquired gender or legal sex recognised through the Gender Recognition Certificate, GRC. What action has the Council taken to ensure that their staff feel supported as a result of this decision?
Right, thank you. Councillor Ely for responding.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Clark, for your question. You'll have to forgive me if I'm speaking to you with my back to you. The Council has a transgender policy in place and are committed to supporting staff and ensuring that employees are treated with dignity, respect, and are not disadvantaged in the workplace. As part of our transgender policy, we have action plan templates which are in place to help support an employee's transition at work, and we use these on a number of occasions to help staff. We also regularly promote our employee assistance programme, which offers confidential support for all employees. Following the UK Supreme Court judgment, we are redesignating accessible toilets as unisex toilets for individuals to use. We also regularly promote, This will be reviewed following the publication of the updated Code of Practice from the Equality and Human Rights Commission. We do, as a matter of course, monitor employee feedback, complaints, or HR casework to identify where policy or practice may need adjustment. and have an equality champions group chaired by Nick Evely with representatives from across the council to consider the proactive steps we can take to support our workforce. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any follow-up? Thank you. In that case, we'll move on to agenda item 7, proposed changes to the Constitution. This report under item 7 is from the Cabinet on 3rd of June and the Governance Committee on the 11th of June on proposed changes to the Constitution and will be introduced by Councillor Franks. Right. Okay.
I had been under the impression that this item would be introduced by Councillor Robinson.
Well, obviously, somebody didn't agree.
As the chair of the Constitutional Working Group.
Somebody's trying to upset me, that's what it is. Councillor Robinson,
Yes.
can you take this on?
Yeah, well, I can. This was a collection of relatively minor amendments to the Constitution that, as you've said, have been to both the working group, went to the working group and then to Cabinet and to the Governance Committee. They are, as set out in the paper, as often, it's a very long report for a very small set of changes. It relates to delegations, the financial regulations, and so some clarifications following the monitoring officer's review of the Constitution, and I move the report.
Thank you. The motion is to approve the amendments to the Constitution. Will those in favour of the recommendation please indicate by raising their hand? And seconder, please. Who's seconding?
Councillor Franks was
You can tell it's my first meeting, can't you? All those in favour?
Yes, try it.
Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? One abstention. Okay, in that case, that is carried. Thank you. Agenda item 8, updated political groups. Item 8 is to update the Council on a change to the political groups which Councillor Robinson will present.
Yes, I'd just move the report, which is for noting. Thank you.
As this is for noting, I won't ask members to indicate if they're for or against, and instead check that members are happy with the report being noted. Is that okay? Thank you. Report is noted. Item 9, Treasury Outturn 2024 to 25. It's from the Treasury Management and Investment Subcommittee on 16th of June and Cabinet on 8th of July on the Treasury Outturn 2024-25 and will be introduced by Councillor Franks this time.
It is me this time. Bear with me a second. I'll just get my notes. So thank you, Madam Mayor. This report covers identifies the Council's Treasury Management activities for the year ended the 31st of March 2025. Treasury Management and Investment Subcommittee and Cabinet have both seen this report and have recommended it to full Council, so I won't get into too much of the detail, but the key highlights are that some of the Council's investments in this period were adversely affected by American tariff proposals, which Phil has been monitoring, and the committee has discussed the potential next steps to take account of this. However, income from Treasury Management was still 0.8 million above budget, reflecting benefit of slower capital expenditure in the year, and borrowing was also significantly lower than expected. Overall, Treasury Management activities were compliant with the Treasury Management strategy as set by Council in February 2024. As such, we ask that the recommendations of TMISC and Cabinet in relation to the Treasury Management Outturn report are noted and approved by Council. I'm sure that either myself, the Cabinet member, or so on, or would be happy to answer any questions if you have any. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Yes, seconded. Okay. The motion is to approve the recommendations in the report. Will those in favour please indicate by raising their hands? Those against? Any abstentions? Okay. It is indeed carried. Thank you. Agenda item 10 is annual report of the Audit and Risk Committee.
Okay.
And it's Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm pleased to present the annual report of the Audit and Risk Committee, which outlines the committee's work and achievements for the years 24 to 25 to the Council this evening. The annual report provides an overview of the Audit and Risk Committee, its function and its membership, as well as the responsibilities of the committee and the work carried out over the past 12 months. I hope the annual report helps demonstrate the role of the Audit and Risk Committee and its contribution it makes to the Council's overall governance. Finally, I would like to thank the officers and the members of the committee who have supported the work that the committee has carried out over the past year. I welcome any questions and request that the Council note the contents of the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a second? I do. Right, the motion is to approve the recommendations in the report. Those in favour, please indicate by raising their hands. Any against? Any abstentions? In that case, that's carried. Thank you very much. Moving on, agenda item 11 is the annual report of the Governance Committee, which will be introduced by Councillor Franks.
I'm getting my exercise this evening. Thank you again, Madam Mayor. The report covers the activities of the Governance Committee for the years 24-25. Much of it is very self-explanatory, but just to highlight that of the 33 complaints received, none required further investigation. I wanted to thank the monitoring officer and the independent persons for their work on reviewing these complaints amongst the other work that they do for the committee. Pending any other questions or comments, I recommend that full council approves the annual report for publication. Thank you very much.
Seconder, please. Yeah. Right. Will those in favour of the recommendation please indicate by raising their hands? Any against? Any abstentions? Yeah, okay, thank you very much. That's carried. We're now moving on. I've been made aware of an item of urgent business brought by the Leader of the Council relating to relief from disqualification for a councillor. I'd like to invite members of the Council to cast their vote as to whether we hear this item. Will those in favour of hearing this additional item of business please raise their hands? I think that's fine. In that case, can we hear the...
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Council, for allowing me to table this item. I became aware on Monday that Councillor Bugby would be unable to attend this evening, and as members will know, a non-attendance at meetings for a period of 6 months automatically results in a member's removal from the Council, and that such period would expire on the 19th of August, and she won't be able to attend before then. The approval for to extend to give leave of absence may be given under section 85(1) of the Local Government Act 1972. Unfortunately, Councillor Bugby has suffered a number of illnesses recently that has impacted her ability to fulfil her duties, and I very much hope to see her return as soon as possible, but it will be unlikely to be before the 19th of August. So this tonight is the last meeting of the Council at which her absence can be authorised, hence the need for its urgent consideration. It's therefore proposed that Councillor Bugby's continued absence until the Council meeting on the 3rd of December be approved under section 85(1) of the LGA 1972. I very much hope that you'll join me in sending Councillor Bugby our support and wishing her a speedy recovery.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
Seconded, Madam.
Thank you. In that case, all those in favour of the recommendation, please raise your hands. Great. Any against? Any abstentions? One abstention. Okay, thank you very much. In that case, that has been carried. That concludes this evening's business, and I thank you for your attendance.